I'd like to welcome Dr. William Norquist to the show. Welcome to Primetime.
Welcome. Thank you.
Okay, so explain I ran into you and I had to have you on the show because you just fascinated me. You hooked me, and that's hard to do. You were talking about, you wrote a book about this, how a lot of these incurable diseases stem from your mouth. And explain to the viewers what you're talking about.
Well, we've suspected this for many years, and the problem is that we didn't have any definitive proof. But in recent years, because of DNA analysis and that sort of thing, we know exactly the type of, we call them bugs or bacteria in the mouth, that we find them in different parts of the body. So there's no question anymore as to whether, or we're not guessing as whether this is true or not. We know it's true, that most of the autoimmune diseases are actually coming from infections from bacteria that originate in the mouth.
You're kidding. Well, allergies are an autoimmune disease as well, in a sense. Does that have an effect on allergies as well on some level?
Well, we notice that patients, they'll have one or multiple autoimmune diseases, and people with autoimmune disease seem to be allergic to everything.
That's
metals,
true.
dental metals. It's just amazing to see the number of things. They're just super sensitive to everything.
And we're talking, you had mentioned Alzheimer's, right?
That's right.
And name some of the diseases that would trigger the viewers to really listen to you right now.
Well, it's about every named disease you can think of. There's probably 200 or 300 of them, and most diseases, they turn out, it seems like all roads lead to Rome. They're autoimmune. It's Alzheimer's, dementias, diminished cognition, arthritis, rheumatism, osteoporosis, the mental disorders, obsessive compulsive behavior,
bipolar?
Bipolar.
Is it all an inflammation-based type of systemic problem?
The basis of all is inflammation. There's a certain bacteria they're called spirochetes, the same thing that causes Lyme disease and syphilis. And all the long-term chronic implications of these diseases are all the same, whether it's oral spirochetosis, which is periodontal disease or gum disease, whatever you want to call it. When spirochetes get to overpopulate to about 80%, then you get bone loss and gum disease. Well, the bone loss finding is what's related to all these diseases, because they now get into the circulatory system and they spread through the body, and wherever they end up is the name of the disease.
Unbelievable.
It's very simple.
And where did the research come from? And how did you find this out? Why are you talking about it? Because I'm so into health and medical advancements, and I've heard whisper of it, but I really didn't hear too much information until I met you.
Well, it's interesting. I was watching the modern epidemic heart disease in America. It's about 4 years ago. It was on pbs.org, and you can actually go watch that. But I got two clues, and that just opened the whole thing up. One is that people didn't start dying of massive numbers of heart attacks until after World War II. So I was thinking, well, we know it's related to periodontal disease, so what happened in periodontal disease 20, 30 years before that? Well, it turned out to be trench mouth in World War I.
Is that plaque related? The bacteria builds plaque in your mouth?
Well, trench mouth is just a complete overpopulation of the gums with spirochetes and fusiform bacteria. Causes punched out gums. It's ugly looking disease.
It probably smells too.
Yeah.
Bacteria smells.
But that was about the time that I predicted, and it was spirochetal. And so then I thought, well, what about other spirochete diseases? So I looked at syphilis, and I know a lot about that. And the long-term chronic part of syphilis is tertiary syphilis, which is the most dangerous part. And all physicians know about those symptoms, and we recognize that. And back then, as 4 years ago, I'd heard about Lyme disease, and I knew it was spirochete, but that was about it. So since then, I became an expert in Lyme disease. I've read everything there is, but if you want to understand gum disease, understand Lyme disease, because the long-term chronic problems are the same as gum disease.
Right.
And I've been an implant dentist for 25 years, and I got to the point where we're doing the most difficult of the most difficult cases. And all those cases with multiple missing teeth had multiple, like heart disease, diabetes, mental disturbances, and everything you can imagine. And so all my patients were sick. So I used to call it multiple missing tooth syndrome, for lack of another term. And then I got a few clues, and I was in the library at UCLA for 2 weekends, and the next 2 weeks I was in Kabul writing my first book. So, and I've written 2 books already.
And what are they called?
Third. The Silent Saboteur is the last one, and the Stealth Killer is the first one.
Nice.
You just go on Amazon and You can get it just by Googling my name in there.
So what can we do as viewers and people, the public, what do we do to help prevent these bacteria taking over our bodies and creating diseases?
Well, first of all, understand it's a three-legged stool. First of all, the bugs in our mouth, there's probably 400 or 500 different bugs in our mouth. We all basically have the same bugs because we're not that far from being like 54th cousins, so it doesn't change that much over time.
You crack me up. We have the same bugs in our mouth. My mouth is clean, buddy.
Right, but as we spread around the world and isolated each other, the bugs changed slightly, and with transportation, with trains, planes, and automobiles in the last 100 years, we're pulling them back together. They're highly communicable, and so in the environment, I mean, they're passed by aerosol, so it's very easy to spread this stuff. So that's number one. Our immune systems are up to it, but not quite. And the second thing is we sterilize everything so we're not getting enough good bacteria. Good bacteria counterbalances it and controls the bad bacteria. And then the third thing, we've had a dramatic change in our diet in the last 100 years. The sugar, refined carbohydrates, and corn syrup. I mean, you look on the packages almost in everything, and that potentiates that shift of the bacterial flora toward more pathogenic bacteria. That causes gum disease, okay? And then gum disease is the pathway into the other inflammatory diseases. So it doesn't cause it, it's what causes gum disease that causes the inflammatory diseases.
Okay, so what can we do? Brush our teeth better, floss better, or is that not going to help?
Well, if you're going to do one thing, number one, you got to start at the dentist and get a really good cleaning. And you need a dentist that knows enough not to do a bloody cleaning. You need a cleaning, you have to prepare the patient for a cleaning.
So skilling your own teeth is not a good idea?
It causes a bacteremia. We want to avoid bacteremias, whoever does it, whether the dentist does it or whether you do it with brushing your teeth. So you need to go to a knowledgeable dentist who knows how to treat this, so they get rid of it first. And then once you've got rid of it, then the water pick is your best defense, because that keeps the numbers of bacteria at very low numbers.
Just a regular water pick with water?
Right.
No Listerine or any?
Well, we have suggestions as to what to put into it. But that's the number one thing. And number two, just brush with baking soda. I mean, how simple is that?
Yeah. That is very simple. My grandma used to tell me that, and then I stopped doing it.
I know,
I'm going back to baking soda, the solution to everything almost.
It is. Oh, the other thing, we got to change the diet as well.
Okay.
It does. The further down the spectrum of chronic diseases you are, the more you need to change your lifestyle. You got to eliminate the corn syrup, sugar, and carbohydrates completely. Change your diet to the Furman diet.
Cancer feeds off sugar, bacteria, it's bad. Cancer
is the final result of chronic inflammation. Everybody knows that, and that can be eliminated. I would predict in 50 years, all these diseases will be completely unknown.
Thank you so much. These are great tips and great information.